It is not an easy place to start to work, and I feel sorry for everybody who has to go through it. It's not a fun place to start, and the first couple of years were pretty rough. The I can remember coming on, and the way it was sort of like I replaced Diane along with Meredith, so we got all of Diane's producers. And what happened before they left, of course, Mike and Morley and Ed all picked off the best producers and got them to come to her, and then they made some trades back. So the pool of producers that Meredith and I got the first year were not terrific. We got some help from, I brought in Jeff Fager. Meredith brought in her own producer. And so you're not starting with you're not starting with the best group of producers. The other thing is that you had we were coming in as sort of a split job. It was not really clear whether we were part time or full time or what our status was. So you were never allowed to get too comfortable. You sort of had the job, but it was yours to lose. So that put a tremendous amount of pressure on you, and we were just sort of like an afterthought. We were like junior associates because it was Mike and Morley and Ed and Diane. Well, not Diane, but Harry. So it was a pretty illustrious group, and we were two young kids at that time.
And what about the blue sheets and the struggle to get the stories that you wanted and the competition over the choice segments?
It was pretty much up to you. I mean, you had to get. Everybody submits blue sheets, and it's like going to the land. It was like going to the land office and filing a claim. And if you got there first, you got the story. Generally, that was the way it was enforced. Sometimes Mike would or somebody else would try and take it away from you. Invariably, if they really desperately wanted the story, sometimes they were successful. But generally, if you got the blue sheet, you were all right. And but there were lots of fights over stories. If the blue sheets went in at about the same time, then you could guarantee you weren't going to get it. Somebody with more seniority was going to get it. So it was really up to you to make your own splash. And I was very fortunate in the first couple of years to come up with some really great stories, and that showed what I could do. And the first year it was Chernobyl, and I think that went a long way towards solidifying my position on the floor. But it was tough. I mean, it was. You felt like sort of like a baby in a crib. If somebody saw a toy that they liked, they come up and take it, and it didn't make any difference whether you cried or what. You just weren't gonna. People weren't gonna listen to you, and you had to be careful not to cry too much or cry too loud. And it's always been a really tough place. The dynamic has changed a lot because it's more centrally. Management system now is more centrally run than it used to be. But people used to get in fights over stories all of the time, serious fights where people wouldn't talk to each other for months, weeks at a time, and it was sort of a double system. If you got a story that Mike Wallace wanted, or got a story that Mike Wallace wished he'd had, or one of his producers had thought of. Sometimes the backlash could be worse, because Mike was jealous, and Mike was angry at you because you had gotten a good story. So there was all this kind of stuff going on, and drove Ed Bradley crazy, because Ed was the one that Ed and Diane had gone through it before me. Diane, I think, just said that she didn't want any part of it. I think that she wanted to be out on her own. I think I think the main reason that she had left, and I think that things were hard for her, and Mike and Morley and Ed and everybody were, You got to fight.